Yes, joining me this morning to look at the papers is Honorable Hubert Oragui. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How is it for you this morning?
Oh, well, it's a brand new year, and we're all hopeful that today will be better than yesterday.
All right, we'll begin with, usually as we do from ABS websites, where we'll have New Year, be your brother's keeper. That's coming from Obiano. Today is New Year. 2019 NOA to embark on massive voter education in Anambra, and still on messages for New Year, Mrs. Obiano calls for self-renewal. Honorable, let's begin with 2019 NOA to embark on massive voter education in Anambra. With your assessment, do you think Anambra citizens are ready for elections?
I think that there's more political awareness now than there was before now. What we need to talk about when you're talking about voter education is prevention of vote selling, you see. We always talk about vote buying all the time without talking about vote selling. You see, the masses, the electorate, they are the ones that sell their votes.
Okay.
And the politicians are the ones that buy the votes. And if the seller does not sell, has no willingness to sell, then the buyer will not buy. I was in one of the programs that NOA did some time ago in Nnewi. And I was telling people that it is no longer time for you to listen to your father, mother, brother, sister, or even your pastor, because you've got a mind of your own, you know, to go and vote who you think will make the lives of your children's children better than it is today. You know, when you accept 1,000, 5,000, even 20,000 pounds to cast a vote for the wrong person, just know that you're not just mortgaging 4 years of your life, but also, you know, the lives of your children's children, because these things, they have a knock-on effect, you know, on our children's children. You know, any bad governance today will eventually result in 20 years of starvation and hunger, you know.
Okay, but when you talk about vote buying and vote selling, some people would like to argue that they don't know the candidate that is the best choice, so that anybody that provides the money should be accepted. Do you?
No, but when you look at it, you see, we know people's histories. People don't just come out from anywhere to contest for elections.
Okay.
That is one. And then we are, as human beings, we have our own inspirations as well, as opposed to listening to our pastors and priests, you know, tell us who exactly to vote for.
Okay.
Because we have a mind of our own, you see. And if you realize, you know, so out of hunger you accept 5,000, and with that you mortgage the next 4 years or the next 20 years. You know, that is so wrong. If you don't know, you ask questions and you ask the right people. You know, so in the end, once we realize that in selling our votes we are mortgaging our future, things will get better for us.
Okay, what other places do you think we've not been able to pay attention to when it comes to voter education in our terrain?
I think the issue of you know, recalling the people who represent us. You know, someone was surprised to hear that you can actually recall a member of the State House or the National Assembly. You know, the masses don't seem to know that if you collect a certain number of signatures, you can recall whoever is representing you as long as it's not doing his job. You know, that is one area where we don't even look at. So once we cast our votes, we now wait for the next 4 years, whether the person is doing well or not. So the voters need to realize that you can actually recall someone even 6 months into his tenure.
All right, we'll move over now to the Daily Sun. On the front page of the Daily Sun is still messages for 2019. Hello 2019, Buhari, Atiku, Dogara, Wike, Okowa, others set agenda for New Year. Gas explosion rocks Enugu, destroys property worth millions of naira. Residents hail Ugwanye's quick intervention. That's from Enugu. 2019 elections need not be do or die. Coming from Buhari. Customs intercepts dynamite explosives at Lagos airports. Minimum wage, we can't pay 30,000 naira. That's coming from governors who will shut down economy. NLC replies. Soldiers kill 3 suicide bombers in Borno. That's on the front page of the Daily Sun this morning. The issue of 2019 agenda from our politicians is dotting the front page. But let's look at the issue of minimum wage from governors. Yesterday, they started making statements against whether they can pay or not. They said this is what that President Buhari is aware they can't pay 30,000 naira. What do you see from this for governors?
Well, the question is, have we got the money? You know, the president can say, well, states should pay 40,000 or 50,000 or 30,000 as the case may be. But what is the state allocation? How much do the states get? Are they able to pay this money? And even if they pay 30,000, is 30,000 what you call a living wage? Can 30,000 feed a man and his family? Can 30,000 a month even feed you? Is that enough? It is not. But when we cannot afford it, there are certain elementary things about economics, you know, that when you have too much money pursuing too many goods, it all boils down to corruption. Because you and I go to the same market where the billionaires who had stolen our money go to. So you find out that prices of food items, for example, they're quite high. And since we go to the same market, these people can afford to buy whatever they want to buy. But with 30,000 as minimum wage, and so many people on this 30,000, they've got a wife, they've got 5, 6 children. How do you manage that? So you now find out that again, the knock-on effect is that we even get more corrupt at the end of the day. You know, but if we're able to manage our money well as a state, again, because if you actually look at the details, you see that there are so many loopholes where money goes away from.
Because that's the angle I want to come in from.
Yeah.
Is it actually a paucity of funds that make these people not pay, or is it loopholes in the system?
Well, I would imagine that there are certain loopholes. No one is perfect. But then again, some of these loopholes, we can actually plug the loopholes. You know, I wouldn't want to run a commentary about who does what in the government and who steals what. Okay. But we all know, you know, even as ordinary citizens, that things are not the way they should be. We know what is voted for the states. And you find out that so many contracts are inflated here and there, and people pocket money here and there, and some contracts that are supposed to be done are not done. Right, these monies should be put into the right use, actually. When I talk about the right use, all these white elephant projects that we have in some cases in some states, why don't we stop them and put food on people's table by paying them what I don't call it minimum wage, I call it living wage, you see. Minimum wage is something that is, it doesn't point it in the right direction. But if we begin to talk about a living wage, that is a wage that can keep you alive. And, you know, you have minimal comfort until the next month. Minimum wage can be anything. Minimum wage mustn't be a living wage. But if we begin to, like in developed countries, they don't talk about minimum wage. They talk about living wage. A wage that can keep you alive and reasonably comfortable till you get the next wage. That is what we should begin to talk about. Okay,
still on that, the governors are coming now to say we can't pay this. But we know that they were part, or they had representatives in the tripartite committee that agreed on 30,000 naira. This step in another direction they're taking, do you think it wouldn't affect our economy negatively in this 2019?
Well, the truth is that if we know the details of the meeting, of the tripartite meeting, then we begin the whole thing will begin to unravel. Because if I send you as a representative, you should be able to say there and there, listen, we can't do this. You know, and for as long as we continue to talk about money that we cannot afford, our economy will continue to go down. You know, so 2019, as far as I'm concerned, is not going to be this massively good year for the civil servants, to be honest. Because if we're arguing about 30,000, which actually is not a living wage, you know, then there is no hope for the masses.
All right, still on that, if you go to the Punch, we'll have still the same story making the banner headline. NLC's insistence on 30,000 naira minimum wage unpatriotic. That's coming from governors. The oil price ends 2018 at $53, loses $13, loses $13. Baga attack. We trekked for 2 days without food, say fleeing residents. Thousands to miss visa appointments as U.S. Embassy closes indefinitely. Four burned to death, 21 are arrested for robbery, kidnapping in Ondo. Nigeria won't grow without restructuring. Alpha Babalola. There are other stories there, but let's look at oil price ends 2018 at $53 and loses $13. The benchmark for 2019 budget estimate is $60.
Right.
And we're having $7 less than that estimate. Right. Do you think this drop would affect our budget estimate and the economy generally?
It will affect our economy generally. You see, the problem that we have in Nigeria is that all of us are dependent on oil. We used to have groundnut pyramid in the north. Malaysia came to Nigeria some time ago to pick palm nut, and today Malaysia is semi-developed, and people are rushing to Malaysia. It will even get worse because people are going electrics now as opposed to oil. You find electric cars in some of these developed countries, and so they are depending less on our oil. I won't be surprised if it goes down to $40 tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. You know, what we should be doing in Nigeria is to depend less on oil. Nigeria has been massively blessed with natural resources, an awful lot of them. You know, you got iron ore and so on and so forth. Why don't we tap into all this? We've got groundnut. So many things grow in this country. You don't even have to tend to them. Take palm trees, for instance. I mean, Malaysia has to tend to palm trees for them to grow into maturity. I mean, in my father's compound, we've got like, excuse me, we've got like 10, 20 palm trees. You know, but we're not tapping into all that. All of us are depending on oil. So as soon as the oil price falls, our economy virtually collapses. So what we should be thinking, we should be futuristic, you see, because so many developed countries, they're moving away from people who are importing oil from us. They're actually moving away from oil. And the less they import, the less the price of oil, because we have it in commercial quantity more than the demand.
And then we are looking at the newspaper headlines for this morning. I was joined by Honorable Hubert Oragwe, public affairs commentator in the studio. Good morning again.
Good morning one more time.
Also joining us now is Engineer Anthony Anebwe, also a public affairs commentator. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Before you joined us, we were looking at the oil prices that ended at $53 for 2018, and we know that the projection by the federal government for the budget is $60. Do you think the federal government took a wrong action in taking their budget estimate for 2018? For 2019, I mean.
For 2019. Well, you know, in budgeting, there's what's called prediction. You look forward, you look at the horizon, make some assessment of what is, visualize what may likely be. And if the oil price has gone down to $53, why we projected 60? I think something is really wrong there. An implication is that we are going to be overspending, be spending more than we'll be earning. Because when you budgeted to spend at $60, and even incidentally you are earning at 53, which means you will have less of your prediction of what you're estimating. So it's really wrong calculation. Very, very wrong. Because that's why I could remember some years ago, the federal government was advised to always plan lower. That is, project the oil price to be lower, even when we have more. That is, we call it surplus. That will help you. But for you to start projecting at 60, when you are not in control of the market forces. Incidentally, that's why we got to this level. So it's actually going to affect the government spending. Seriously, it's going to affect it.
Honorable Hubert, before you came in, was projecting a possible, even continued drop in the market. How do you think federal government will be able to grapple around this misprediction?
The only thing is to reduce some of the capital projects. Because when you don't have enough money, what you do is to drop some projected activities, things you want to do. If you plan to build a house, incidentally, the money to build a house is not there. What do you do?
And we should look at other areas, actually, of getting income as opposed to depending solely on oil. That was where I was coming from.
Okay.
You see, because the developed world, most of the people that import our oil, they are going electrics now. You know, so invariably that means that before you know it, the demand will be so much less that our oil will be worth next to nothing.
Okay, let's take a call. Hello, who's joining us?
Hello?
Hello, good morning and welcome to Good Morning Anambra. Your name? Wow. Okay, yes, looking at what you said.
Alternate source.
Alternate source. But you know, alternate source cannot be provided now.
Instant.
Instant.
And that is why I didn't even want to go there. Because I know that
So, but the question is, are we planning for tomorrow? We once had this what they call Palm for Palm program. You know, where you have in Edo State, you've got miles and miles of palm program.
Yeah.
And eventually it was abandoned. You know, so, I mean, it will get worse in the next 10 years if we don't begin today to plan.
All right. Let's leave.
But we have to plan it.
Incidentally, we are talking about quick fix now. Because the spending is for this year.
So what would be that quick fix?
God, the only quick fix is to drop some projects. Because you cannot start putting in place facilities that will engender alternate funding.
Why you don't have the money to do that?
Even if for this period, first of all, you have to remember that from this January 1, you have to start spending. Every day you spend. And when the money is not there, you cannot start designing how to get alternate source immediately and then get it. This is why all the years back, advice had been on looking for alternate source of income outside oil.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the government
no tangible steps
have been done to
all right,
actually get
let's
that
look at the last paper for this morning. 2018 Person of the Year, Guardian is naming Lee Sharibu, Goddess of Resistance. That's what they call her, as their 2018 Person of the Year. I think this is commendable.
Very, very commendable in the sense that actually I'm not really happy with the issue surrounding the lady girl. It's unfortunate that we have a system where we don't value human life. Some countries will not move an inch until they secure the release of Danke. An inch. They must put in everything to get this girl released. But it seems this lady has been abandoned. If this award or whatever has not been meant, many people have started moving, the life continues, life goes on. We've forgotten her. What's the government doing about it? Is there nothing that the government can do to secure the release of Lee?
Okay, Honorable Oragui, what's your take? We've seen, just like another story there, is having Benue Group raises alarm over influx of herdsmen. We'll continue having this issue of insurgency repeatedly. Well, what's the assessment? Do you think the government has put in steps to ensure that 2019 people are more secured in their homes?
I think these two stories are linked, about Leah and the insecurity, you see. I think Leah symbolizes the level of insecurity we have in Nigeria. Herdsmen or no herdsmen. In my head, I believe that we can do something about these things, you see. We're not being proactive at all. We simply react when they do. And even when we react like lame dogs. Let us face the facts. I am fully persuaded that the Nigerian security, they are well trained, that they know exactly what their job is and what they're doing. But orders have to be given for people to move, you know. So I don't want to meddle in security issues because I'm sure they know what we don't know, you know. But herdsmen here, herdsmen there, Boko Haram here, Boko Haram there. I mean, hello. Are we telling ourselves the truth? That's the question. You know, there's so much insecurity in the country. You know, every day you hear about herdsmen killing everywhere. Thank God, well, so far they haven't come to the east to slaughter people. But it wouldn't be different if they do come, You know, it wouldn't be significantly different. So I'm sure somebody somewhere knows what can be done to sort this issue out.
All right.
Sorry. I remember that in some countries, there is what we call swapping. Some months back, or a recent time, I heard some pardoned, unquote, Boko Haram people were, can I call, had rehabilitated and sent and pardoned. Is there no way government can look at swapping? There are people how did the law say it? It is even better to allow a guilty person go free than to allow an innocent person to be punished. Now, if it is on record of the government that this girl has been in bondage all this while, is there no way they can go into other means? Negotiation. How do we swap? If we are holding some of your men, how can we get this young girl that is absolutely, in fact, innocent to be released?
All right.
So this is one of the things I say, that we have not come to the point where we can say we and our government takes life as if it means anything.
All right, this is how we call it wraps on newspaper headlines on Good Morning Anambra. This morning, Honorable Hubert Oragui joined us. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
And also Engineer Anthony Aniebwe. Thank you for joining us.
I'll continue to say Happy New Year. Thank God we are here.
Yes.
And it's wonderful. Some didn't make it.
Thank God we're here and it's